What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father and Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. We're bringing you a special recorded episode because last night during Tokyo Game Show, Kojima Productions was revealing a lot of information, specifically on OD, Physint, the Death Stranding anime, a credit card, and some sake. So, gonna go. Dad, have you seen any of this content that's been revealed?
I have not. I've been actually waiting for this for the podcast. And, with us having the podcast, it's actually sometimes a little nerve wracking, because I like to get my data, my information as soon as it comes out. And now I got to wait for the podcast. So I'm super excited to see what came out.
Now, I have seen everything. I watched this all last night as it was happening, but I'm here to get your reactions and actually talk about it because I've not talked about this with anyone just yet. So, before we even move into your live reactions, and I'm just going to kind of let it happen, as a reminder to everyone, you can follow us here on all of your socials on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. We are at Active Reload Gaming. On Twitter or X and Twitch, we are at Active Rel. That is with an REL, Active Rel Gaming. And if you're watching this video up here in the corner, you can scan the QR code to join our Discord platform. We're trying to build a community, and we like to chat with all of you. So feel free, scan the QR code, come join us, chat with us, all things video games. And with that, without further ado, let's just get the show on the road. We are here, as I said, live reacting to the Kojima Productions announcements from the Beyond the Strand press conference that they gave yesterday. So the first thing I'm going to have you watch and we can actually talk about is the trailer for OD. OD was announced in 2023 on the Game Awards stage, and it was announced that it was in partnership with Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele, for those who aren't aware, is of the Key and Peele fame, but has also made 3 horror movies, Get Out, Us, and Nope. So I think that is a perfect match for Kojima and this horror game. And obviously, for those who are unaware, Kojima has had a lineage in horror. He was tapped to make the Silent Hills game with Konami before the whole scandal happened. And he also made one of the best horror experiences of all time on the PlayStation platform, and that is PT. So before we even watch this, Dad, I kind of want to get a pulse check on you. They showed very little of OD 2 years ago, but knowing that it's Kojima, knowing the partnerships behind it, and that he's going to have big actor names in this game, what are your kind of expectations and excitement levels for OD?
What's funny is, and I'm going back in my memory because I didn't prepare for any of this stuff, going back and looking, I just remember seeing the trailer and there was just faces.
Yep.
And I don't know. I don't have expectations because they didn't really reveal anything from that trailer. All they knew that it was Kojima, and there was rumor that it was going to be horror. And to be honest with you, Kobe, that's all I need. Kojima, horror, I'm in.
Well, without further ado, let's kick off the show, and I'm going to have you watch for your very first time the trailer to OD with the subtitle Knock. So let's get the show on the road.
It already has a Kojima fingerprint on it.
And I mean, this is very PT. And this is all in-game rendered real footage.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything less. And of course, he's got to have a baby in it already. Dude, I'm on the edge of my seat already. It's only a trailer. Now the eyes closed on the window. The picture was open.
There it is. It's open.
Oh. I feel her emotion already.
So that is OD Knock. What did you think, high level, of this trailer?
Wow. It's again, I'm super excited because it's Kojima and he's gonna do it right. It's just you don't know enough about it yet, but it has all the elements. Like I said, in a trailer, and the suspense was already there. I think he's going to knock it out of the park.
That's for sure. And there are a few things to note. First off, this is not running in the Decima engine, which is what powered Death Stranding 1 and 2. This is completely made in Unreal Engine, and they are using metahuman technology. The first thing that I noticed is the graphical presentation of this trailer. It looks strikingly realistic. Even like you kind of mentioned, you feel in the characters' emotions. Like the Sophia, who played in It Chapter 1 as one of the children in that movie, is tapped to be one of the main characters here, along with Hunter Schafer and Udo Kier. You could really feel the emotion set behind her face. And as the creature that we don't know, but as it was whispering and having this radioactivity noise happening and kind of seeing the skin flare up, there's a lot of subtle details here, but that metahuman technology is really something else. Like, I was super impressed seeing all the facial expressions here. So what did this trailer do for you? Like, it still doesn't show a lot, but there is also a lot of hints, a lot of calling back to PT in this trailer, even callbacks to Death Stranding with the babies. And, even in PT, there was a fetus in the sink at one point in that demo. So what do you really think is even happening in this? And I'm going to pull up an article here about OD. There is a couple tidbits about this game that I do find pretty interesting. So as I pull that, just kind of give me, what else do you really think about this?
Just before I answer that, because you were talking about, the technology used for the facial, I got a very big Hellblade feeling from her face. Is it the same technology that they used in Hellblade?
I am not entirely. I mean, Hellblade was built in Unreal Engine, and they did do a whole bunch of scanning tech for that. Whether they used MetaHuman or not, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah,
right here, I get Hellblade feeling, because Hellblade,
yes.
like everything in Hellblade, was through the actresses, facial expressions and the mocap that they used. Like, I get a lot of Hellblade feeling out of that right now.
Yeah. So I do want to pull up a couple tidbits. As you saw, that this is in collaboration with Xbox Game Studio. Phil Spencer did take the stage last night to help present OD Knock. And with Xbox Game Studio, the Kojima Productions, this is leveraging cloud-based computing, and they're calling this a cloud-based horror project. And Kojima has always talked about wanting to do an episodic game, and he said something very interesting on stage last night. There wasn't many details given, but he did say that there is a different kind of fear that Jordan Peele will do. Mine is the knock. So what that suggests is OD is going to be a blanket umbrella of a franchise and is actually going to get into anthology horror. So what Jordan Peele is doing is going to be completely different than what Kojima is doing. But this is Kojima's OD, and he says his biggest fear in life is a big knock. That scares him the most, and you see that here as you continuously hear the big knock happening at the door. Now, I'm wondering, seeing this, is this going to be a smaller project from Kojima? Like, are we expecting this to be a big, expansive game, or do we actually think this is going to be a smaller title, maybe a 5 to 8 hour experience, especially given that he is saying this is his version of OD? What do you think?
Yeah, what I really are more intrigued about is is it more Peel the lead or Kojima the lead here?
Well, for
Because
Knock, it's Kojima's the lead. He said Peel is leading a different OD.
okay, so Peel's not having any input whatsoever on this game.
Well, no. So here's where it's getting interesting. Peel and Kojima are collaborating on OD, and this is how I'm taking it, and I could be wrong, but it seems like OD is the friend. So let's think of it like this. Think of it like American Horror Story, where American Horror Story has different versions. There's different anthologies. You have the Asylum, you have the Coven, you had Freak Show. It's all under the American Horror Story blanket, but it has different creators going in making new stories. I'm thinking OD might be the blanket, and Kojima is going to have many directors come in and give their version of OD while utilizing the Kojima Productions pipeline in order to build the game itself. So Kojima might be kicking off OD with his knock. And I think, maybe this game releases in 2026, and then in 2027, we're going to get Jordan Peele's OD. So that could be what's happening here.
Now, that's the question I was going to ask towards the end of this. You honestly think that this is baked enough to be a 2026 release?
Well, that's the interesting thing. For full transparency, I do work at Xbox, but none of my opinions or information absolutely leverages any part of the company. This is just my own personal opinion. None of my opinions match what the company views or plans, but I could see this being a 2026 game. I think it's either 2026 or 2027. Xbox, from what we do know and what is public, does have a pretty stacked 2026. However, if this is a smaller title, I could see it being a 2026 title. That's the thing. We still don't know the scope of what this game is going to be. I don't expect it to be the scope of a Death Stranding. I expect it to be the scope of a smaller survival horror game. Like, what do we know? Because on stage, Kojima was talking about this 3D scanning of a building and how they 3D scanned an actual ghost, and he needs to win awards for 3D scanning a ghost. So it's like there's much more here than meets the eye with OD. So it's happened here. So, but that being said, are you excited for this game?
I am super excited for this game. Again, how can you not be excited for anything Kojima puts his hands on? I mean, let's just face that. He's never flopped on a game yet. So how can you not sit there and say, you know what? It's Kojima. It's going to be a good game. So I am super stoked. As we all know, I'm recently really head deep into the horror games, and now it's a horror game with Peel and Kojima having influence on it. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, I think there's a lot here that seems very exciting. I'm curious to see where this is going to go. But yeah, I think OD is going to be a spectacular horror experience, and it's finally going to be giving us what PT promised. So we're going to stick in the video game realm, and the next thing that I do want to bring up is Physint. So Physint is, for those who don't know, a next generation tactical espionage game that he's working on. It is going to be the spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid. And he says this game is super far into the future. This is going to be a PlayStation 6 title, most likely. And he was giving us glimpses to the very first PlayStation 6 title that has come out as an announcement. So there's a few things that I do want to show you, and it's mainly going to be just screenshots. So the first thing is he did announce some of the cast, and with the cast, there are a couple big names that he is bringing into the forefront. The first one is Charlie Fraser, which if people don't recognize where Charlie Fraser is from, the biggest notable title that she has been in recently was Mad Max Furiosa. She played Furiosa's mom at the beginning of the film. The next is Don Lee. Don Lee is a prominent Korean actor. He is in the MCU. He was in the Eternals. He was also in Death Stranding 2 as a character as well. Don Lee is a super popular actor, and it's very cool to see that he is actually cast in this game. The next is, and I'm sorry if I butchered the name, but Minami Hamabi. And for those who don't know where she appeared, she was the main actress in Godzilla Minus One. She was the main love interest and to the main character of Godzilla Minus One, and she did an absolutely phenomenal job in that movie. Does this casting do anything for you?
Absolutely. I mean, these are three hitters coming out, and every one of them in the respective movies that they've done, I thought were outstanding. So yes, bringing them into this, I really believe, and to be honest with you, I liked all three of their main movies that they were in. So, I mean, I'm super excited about it. I think they're all top in their field.
Yeah, and Kojima loves his actors, and it's always very gratifying to see him having fun with the people that he gets in for his titles. So the next part is he did show at least a scan from the game. Obviously, he said he only has writings in his head, essentially. Physint is so far away. And he said the technology leap that's going to be between Death Stranding to the Physint is going to be monumental. But he did show an actual scan of the actress from Godzilla Minus One. And this is, and at today's current graphics, what she is going to look like. And the thing he pointed out is Asian skin has always been hard to pull off in games, but with where technology is today, he is actually able to do facial animations properly for Asian skin complexion. And he is super excited to have this actress in the game itself. And also just being and you being a fan of Godzilla Minus One, this is going to be an absolute showcase. But just seeing the graphical fidelity here and the facial, what do you think about this?
That's pretty darn impressive. And as much as I'm a retro gamer and love my retro games, my true passion lies at the more realistic graphics. Like that's what draws me to games. I am one because I think there was a podcast I watched that what draws you more: story, mechanics, graphics. Graphics will always pull me in first. So I love the way the industry's going. I love the way Kojima is pushing the graphics. I kind of look at him as almost like a Cameron for a James Cameron for what's the
Avatar.
movie Avatar, the way that he's trying to push, movie filming ahead. I think Kojima's doing the same thing when it comes to video games.
Well, and he's trying to bridge the gap between games and movies. That's always been his thing. And he says Physint's going to be the closest that we'll ever to have in the video game sphere of bridging that gap of the two entertainment worlds. And as Genki says here on Twitter, Kojima previously said Physint will likely take another 5 to 6 years to make. It is likely to arrive on the next generation of PlayStation consoles, the PS6. It is in the conceptual stage, and he's mostly working on it by himself at the moment, as OD is his next big main project that he wants to finish. Lastly, the last thing he did show from Physint is the first ever concept art and poster of the title. And I do want to show this here for you. So obviously, this is very reminiscent of Metal Gear Solid, his big baby that he made. But this poster does cue in on one thing. He said he does have the main character casted, but he was unable to announce it at this time. And the big rumor that has been circulating, and if you do look up comparisons, I'm going to zoom in here. People think this is Robert Pattinson, who is playing the main character for Physint in this next generation tactical espionage game. Do you see the likeness here at all? I do. I do see the body type. I think it could be Robert Pattinson because Kojima has met him multiple times, has said how wonderful Robert Pattinson is. But let's break it down here. Obviously, this is going to be a PlayStation exclusive. This is, a spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid. He's returning to the stealth genre, and this is going to be his next generation take on it. And he said, "Here comes the feeling." That is the subtitle so far for Physint. So let's break it down. Do you think this is Robert Pattinson?
I don't see it.
Okay. Who do
I
you think?
just don't. At first, I thought I did on the left, but when I look at the zoomed in picture on the right, I just don't see it.
So if you had to pull a modern actor who is within, the age 30, late 20s, 30s range, who do you think he casted for Physint if you were to take a bet right now?
Wow, that's a tough one. I would have to really give that some thought. That would be in that age. That's in that body type. I
Another
really don't know.
another rumor going around is Timothy Chalamet, which
I, I
Timothy was also at Kojima Productions at one point in time. We don't know who this is yet. He's keeping it under wraps, but this person has been casted. So I do think it's going to be a very prolific actor. I think that is without a doubt that this is going to be probably his most prolific actor to be in one of his games yet. Obviously, Norman Reedus was in Death Stranding, huge actor. You're having Sophia Lillis, Hunter Schafer, other big actors. Don Lee is a huge actor as well. But I think we're going to see the most prolific one entered this role because this is going to be the follow-up to Solid Snake, essentially. So you want to come out swinging with this, and you want someone who is so recognizable and notable within Hollywood to kind of help bridge that gap between game and movie.
I see Chalamet more than I see Patterson. And I'm taking a wild swing. It's not the body type because it's too small, but when I look at the face, I see the new Spider-Man. What's his name?
Tom Holland.
Look at the face in Tom Holland. I can see it. It's just that he doesn't have the body type. But I see Tom Holland in that face.
Let me just pull up a picture here for you, just so we can. I'll give you the reason why I think it's Robert Pattinson. So I want you to keep this image in your head. And
I see the Batman image is what I'm looking at. Like
I'm pulling this up from Tenet.
I don't see the mouth. That's what's throwing me off.
I'm gonna flip back here, and obviously this is just concept art, but I think it could swing either way. I think, like I said, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a very prolific actor who steps into this role.
But again, this is just perfect Kojima when you look at this, box art in the sense that he's so stylistic. He tries to bring the art into the game. Like he is the epitome. He is the definition of video games being an art style.
100%. And I think that's a perfect segue because the other big thing that they showed, they talked about the Death Stranding movie that is being produced by A24 and is being directed by the director of Pig and A Quiet Place Day One. But they did show footage of the Death Stranding anime movie. And let me tell you, this art style is pretty stellar. So I'm going to show you this and I want you to tell me what you think. and that is Death Stranding Mosquito. So this is a new anime adaptation alongside with the live action movie adaptation that they're doing. And video games have been getting a lot of media Hollywood adaptations as of recently. We've had the success of Last of Us, Fallout television show. We are seeing kind of the renaissance of video games to a different type of media adaptation. And Death Stranding Mosquito is going to be a feature length anime movie. I want to start with you because you're not so much an anime person. Does this do anything for you?
Well, if to full disclosure, I didn't see the trailer, but I did see a still photo of it today. I'll tell you what it, and you may think it's a little far fetched, but it reminds me the style reminds me of a gritty Vinland Saga.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like if you go watch Vinland Saga and make it a little gritty to give it its own feeling, but the movement, the surroundings, the just the fight style, very Vinland Saga ish to me. Um, Again, without getting into the whole thing, you know my pros and cons when it comes to any anime. Even though this has an anime feel to it, it doesn't come across to me as an anime style uh, cartoon there. So it actually is pretty cool. I like when people take different shots at different, that it's not the same old animation. So it is doing something for me. I'd love to give this a shot.
Yeah, I think I am much more of an anime person than you are, and I understand that anime isn't for everyone. There is a lot of things that come with anime that definitely turns some audience members off. However, what this is doing, this reminds me of a couple of Love, Death, and Robots episodes that really have that animation flair to it. But this is a completely original story in the Death Stranding world. They are not retelling the main games, but they are taking the game world and making something completely new. And I think the style here is really eye catching. I really like the hand drawn nature to it. I like how the colors feel alive but muted at the same time. This feels so inherently Death Stranding. But yeah, I think this does a lot for me, and I'm very excited to see where this adaptation goes. And Kojima is producing it, and I don't think he would allow a bad adaptation to happen.
I think it's almost it's going to sound crazy, but it's almost a clash between, Eastern and Western style of animation kind of colliding together. And it's interesting. I would definitely give this a shot.
Yes, and it does have some actual talent behind it. So, the Death Stranding Mosquito is being written by one of the main writers of the movie Prisoners, who was made by Denis Villeneuve. So he has a pretty prolific writer behind it, and he picked him because he said he is able to find humanity in really dark stories. The other thing is, it is being animated with hand drawn lines and then digitally used to assemble the animation itself, which I think is pretty stellar. It's being directed by Hiroshi Miyamoto. And let's see what else. Yeah, so the script writer for this, as I said, wrote Prisoners and also the HBO television show Raised by Wolves. And I think you actually watched Raised by
I
Wolves as
I
well.
absolutely loved Raised by Wolves. I was sad that they canceled it.
So yeah, it has a lot of good talent behind this project, and it has a strong writer, has a strong animation director. Yeah, I think this is going to do numbers.
What's funny is Raised by Wolves, now that I can see that, because Raised by Wolves is definitely something that would be like in the Kojima world.
Yeah,
And for those of you that didn't see it, like Travis Fimmel, I think is the star in the beginning of it, and then it kind of goes off. But it's very Kojima-esque.
yeah, that's for sure. I haven't seen Raised by Wolves, but this gets me excited. I think there is a lot of potential behind this. So yeah, it's cool to see that they are branching out and doing different kinds of media for Death Stranding. I'm a huge Death Stranding person. that being said, that's pretty much the big three announcements that I wanted to show you from the Kojima Productions Live. Do you care about sake at all, the alcohol?
No, not really.
But either ways, Kojima is partnering with a huge sake brewery and manufacturer. They're doing Kojima Productions sake. They're also partnering with a credit card company. It's going to be a Kojima Productions credit card. So if you want a credit card with Kojima Productions on it, you can have a credit card. I encourage everyone to go look at the presentation. They also had a pretty cool panel where Kojima brought out Guillermo del Toro, George Miller, and the creator Jeff Keighley, and the creator of the Ghost in the Shell anime original movie. Had a really good conversation about what does the next 10 years of media really look like. But yeah, that's pretty
What
much it. Do you have anything to say about all
Yeah.
this?
What's funny is Kobe and I back in June were out in LA, for the Summer Game Fest and so forth. And we were live in the audience for the Death Stranding 2, where Kojima came out and talked about it. And there's an aura around Kojima. You can't explain it, but he is definitely the grandfather, the father, the soul of video games, and you see this aura around him.
He's that guy. Like he just yeah, it was surreal seeing him in person, hearing him talk. But yeah, he's got that pull. So but yeah, are you excited for everything coming out
I
from
am. I'm
Kojima
super
Productions?
excited for that OD. I mean, the OD just is scratching my itch. And again, it's Kojima, it's horror, it's got appeal in it and influence, and then the graphics. Like it just hits all my check boxes.
Yeah, and I am excited for that, and I'm also really excited to see whatever Physint ends up becoming, because that's going to be his most technologically advanced game that he's ever made. I want to see what he means by bridging the gap between movie and game. What does that entail? What does that truly look like? And I think the one thing as we close this out during this presentation that really kind of brought a little bit of sadness over me, Kojima isn't getting younger. Kojima is 62 years old. And a lot of this presentation, he even talked about it with the health scare of making Death Stranding 2. He kept saying, I hope I'm alive to finish these projects. It was really sad to kind of hear, one of your favorite creators talk about that, as you see this person really kind of coming to terms with death in a sense. And I think he's going to pour everything he has left into these projects, and it's going to be sad to see whenever he does. I think he's going to stay in the industry as long as he wants, but the day that he stops, it's going to be a sad day for the video games,
Very
because
sad.
realistically, I don't think we're ever going to have another Kojima. You do have other auteurs in the video game space. You have your Todd Howards, you have your Neil Druckmanns. Like, you have these people who have
Visionaries.
they are at a status, but there isn't Kojima, who is this one who really wants to bridge the gap between entertainment mediums. But it was very sad to hear someone kind of talk about the inevitability of death, and it was just surreal to hear about that. So
Well, let me say something. 62 is not that old. Come on now. And I guess there's a time, I can't speak for anybody or how anybody feels, but there's a time that we'll all face our mortality, and I guess if it's his facing it at 62 for whatever reason, maybe there was something personal that happened to him. Maybe there was somebody close to him that passed away unexpected. That's usually things that spark up that mortality. But 62 is young anymore. I
well,
mean,
and
the
so
average age is over 75 now.
for context for everyone, Kojima experienced a serious illness during COVID that nearly ended his career, and it prompted him to write down his creative ideas as a contingency plan for his studio. He also underwent eye surgery, which resulted in damaged optical muscles, causing him significant eye pain and difficulty focusing. These challenges made Kojima fear he would never create games again, but the experience ultimately inspired him and motivated him to pursue new projects, including Physint. So that's kind of like a little bit of the thing, is he had a pretty bad illness during COVID that he wasn't getting better, and that eye surgery kind of, really messed up his optical nerves. So I think, everyone at a certain point does come to terms with these things, but I am happy to see that he's still creating. I am always going to support what he has coming in the future. And, I think as video game players, enjoyers, we enjoy him and his creations and his artistry for when he is still here. And let's just celebrate the art as it comes out.
I'm going to throw this into your lap because I think it's an interesting, conclusion to this podcast. We're both Kojima fans, but not everybody listening to this is a Kojima fan or has played a Kojima game. In your opinion, if you were going to give one game to somebody and say, look, this is the game that you need to play to fall in love with Kojima's mind and gaming as much as I have, what game would that be?
That is one of the toughest questions I've been asked, because when you really dig into it, each one of his games has innovated the industry in some aspect. Metal Gear Solid 1 created the tactical espionage genre. Metal Gear Solid 2 subverted expectations because, I'm not going to spoil story points, but there is a huge moment in that game that you think the game is one thing, but it does something else. And Kojima also broke the fourth wall with these games of, with Psycho Mantis, plug your controller into a different input to even damage the boss. Like, Metal Gear Solid 3 really took storytelling to a whole new ecosystem, that these games can be truly cinematic. Metal Gear Solid 4 showed that you can carry characters forward and see and grow with characters to an old space. Metal Gear Solid 5 gave us one of the most impressive open world sandboxes that's still influencing games to this day. We even talked about it yesterday on the podcast with Helldivers 2. But Helldivers 2 even said our movement and combat system is directly influenced from Metal Gear Solid 5. Then Death Stranding 1 and 2 made a whole new genre of delivery. And what does a social connection game and a social strand game truly look like? And I would say it's
I would
tough.
lean into his horror, though. You didn't mention any of his horror.
Well, PT is not obtainable anymore unless if you buy a PlayStation 4 that has it installed for like $1,000. So I won't be including PT. I think PT is the greatest horror entry that has existed for how short it was, just for how revolutionary it was for what it was doing. But if I really had to give a suggestion for somewhere to start, I love Death Stranding with all my heart. Death Stranding 1 and 2 are some of my favorite stories and games, but I would have to say Metal Gear Solid 5. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 revolutionized the open world sandbox genre. The game is incomplete. I'm going to give that caveat. That game is not finished, and that is because of the Kojima beef. They kicked them out, and that game's story was never able to be finished. But play that game and tell me that game's gameplay isn't spectacular. It still holds up in 2025 standards. And like I said, you can see so many influences. And I think if you want crazy Kojima, Metal Gear Solid 3 or Death Stranding 1 is your place to go. I think those are where you see some of his craziest ideas. But Metal Gear Solid 5 is one of the most refined games that I've played. So that's where I would go.
That's a good one. I think the Death Strandings, to me, the best explanation I can say is their moving art.
Oh, 100%. Like, as he keeps trying to bridge the gap between movie and game, Death Stranding is that. Death Stranding is a long form movie, and it is a very good story. You have high tier actors giving these performances, and the graphical presentation is amazing. And I will say, Death Stranding is a very sincere story about guilt, about connecting a country that has become so disconnected. And I think, given today's ecosystem and where we're at, I think it is good to learn about connection and connecting with others and forming bonds with one another, and not being so hateful and bringing people together. I think Death Stranding has that theming and narrative ideology behind it that does give hope, because while Death Stranding is a very bleak game, it is a very hopeful game at the end of the day.
A lot of metaphors in the game.
But yeah, and I truly love Death Stranding, and I think Kojima was ahead of his time with that storytelling. I would just give the caveat with Death Stranding: let it cook. You have to get past a certain point in that game to truly see the beauty in it. But yeah, I love Death
It's
Stranding one
not
and
a
two.
it's not a UPS simulator.
No, and that's a common misconception. People think it's a UPS simulator, and I will say it is for like the first 5-10 hours. But once you actually get into the heart of that game, I think you will be pleasantly surprised. So, do you have anything else to say about everything here? If not, we can close this out.
I do not. I can just end it with I'm super excited. Like that already, for the whole announcements that already got me super stoked.
Yep. And I would like to thank everyone who tuned into this recording of the Father Son Gaming Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. As a reminder, you can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Active Reload Gaming. You can find us on Twitter and Twitch at Active Rel. That is with an REL, Active Rel Gaming. Feel free to join our Discord, scan the QR code right there. Come join our community, chat with us, hear about all the things that we're planning on doing, and tell us about recent pickups that you're doing, games that you're playing. We like to hear all from the community. We're going to be doing different forms of content here, so we're experimenting with this. And we thank each and every one of you for tuning in to our podcast each and every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, where we come with special guests or just us, and we break down topics in video games, keep reviews, latest impressions of games. This upcoming Monday, we're going to be reviewing Tokyo Game Show as a whole. So we'll talk about this again as we kind of wrap up everything and bring in more content that has happened over the weekend. So yeah, once again, thank you to everyone for joining, and we will see you guys next time.